Hello, my beautiful people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My apologies for being slightly over time. As usual, Rafi has a lot going on behind the scenes, but it's all to bring you guys all of the good stuff that you love for 2025. I gotta say, they're pretty decent this year. Not that they ever aren't, but just some interesting findings this year for sure. So I think 2025 is going to be a really interesting year. And I personally am calling this the reboot of humanity. I think it's kind of like that. Have you tried switching it off and turning it back on? That's definitely the energy that 2025 is bringing. And it feels like we are all going to be not more, I hate the term authentic because nowadays everybody's like throwing it around like, if you're not doing this, you're not authentic, man. And it's like, do you know what I mean? I haven't got time for any of that. But what I mean is like there will be a returning for all of us back to how we actually feel about and being ourselves. And so I'm really, really excited to see how that's going to play out for all of us. So yeah, really, really excited about that. On the home stretch. It's all very nearly done. It's just obviously, I wish it was just as simple as, but it's not. There's so many component pieces and putting it all together and editing in and making sure there's this and there's write-ups and it's a lot, right? It's a really big project every year. And every year I always say to myself, like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. Like I've got lots of time and I always kind of, first of all, I underestimate how much I talk. Yes, even at this point in my life. And second, I always underestimate how much I want to put into things. So that's something that I need to learn to get better at. Oh, we got an interruption.
I think I've tried.
No, okay, we're all good. So, hello, hello, hello. Watkins Cat, Jan Wallace, Laurel Berg, Paul Gritzemacher, Heidi R, Nikki. Lovely to have you. Asleep by Nine. Hello, hello, hello. Claire, hello. Lovely to have you, Claire. Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, Perfect timing for me because I've just finished my lunch. Excellent. Me too. I've been going since this morning. I need to eat something before the live stream. So shoveling food in my face at an alarming rate. It was not pretty, but needs a must, right? So, um, Laurel says every report card says I talk too much. I feel ya. I feel ya. So obviously we're here to talk about Mars. I've waffled on enough at you. So, if you are new to my channel, I am an astrologer, tarot reader, numerologist, and energy worker. Those are my core four. That is my bag. That's how I come to the conclusions that I do to give you these messages. For those of you that are my continued subbies and my ride or dies, Rafi Lovesha, thank you so much for being here. The background is because at the moment my office just looks like a bomb site at the crazy moment. So, I don't know, am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't know, but I just did. See, I don't have that filter thing. Anyway, that being said, can you see that? So can you not see the background? Are you not looking at my... Oh, and then I thought it was like uh, a fancy background. Apparently not. Um, Yeah, it's there because just at the moment, like the office is, it's a little bit of a mess. Anyway, so Today we're here to talk about Mars, obviously, and when we're talking about Mars, we're talking about our action, our energy, our passion, our desire. Remember, when we're talking about the energy of Mars, we're talking about our drive. We're talking about our willpower, our energy of get it done, right? Get things done, get things moving, get things off the ground. We're also talking about our energy of conflict and challenge, right? This is your Mars energy isn't just about your own energy and your energy levels or your willpower. It's also about how you fight for what you fight for. So the sign that you, if wherever Mars was when you were born in your wherever Mars was in your chart when you were born, it shows you how you fight for things. Whether that's so if it's in an air sign, maybe it's your words that you fight with. If you're a fire sign, it's probably these, right? If you're an earth sign, maybe it's through resources, right? Or maybe it's through your career or your personal power in some way. If it's in a water sign, maybe this is with your emotions, right? When you think about Mars in Scorpio, those people, Mars in Scorpio and Mars in Cancer, these are people who know how to locate that chink in your armor, right? And then just absolutely ram it home. And when they do, man, it feels like you've just been devastated. Mars in a water sign, okay, yes, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, but I tell you, make no mistake, those people know how to find your soft, squidgy middle. And when they need to, they will ram it home. Trust me, it's not pretty. Now, that being said, obviously Mars acts different wherever it goes. It does rule so Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, and it's also the modern, and it's the also the ruler of Aries, right? So we have a Mars in Scorpio, but gentle. You use your superpowers for good now, Christina. Um, right? But your Mars energy, it really is, it's how you use your personal energy, it's how you use your power, it's how you use your willpower, it's how you really go after what you want, right? Mars is a soldier, but Mars is also a desire planet, right? I want what I want when I say I want it, because I said I want it. That's usually Mars in Aries people. Um, right, Mars in Libra, so you fight nice. Yeah, I mean, you could see it that way. Maybe you fight for injustice. Maybe when you see things like that, you feel that much more compelled to use your energy to do something about it. I found Mars in Libra people, Mars in Pisces people, those two tend to really care for and care about the underdog. If you are a Mars in Pisces or a Mars in Libra, does that ring true for you? It's something that I've noticed in the client work that I do. You guys tend to really defend like the people that can't defend themselves. Or with Mars in Libra, it's usually that they like to give a voice to people that don't have a voice of their own. Um, so interesting stuff. Yeah, big truth. All right, nice, 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 nice. Okay, so when it comes to Mars, I'm going to throw up the chart now because I realize that we are behind. So can you see the chart? Is it on the screen? Am I showing you that? Remember, whenever I'm talking about astrology, I'm talking about whole sign tropical Western astrology, for those of you that would like to know. And you run a rescue. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And whenever I'm talking about, or whenever I throw up this chart, it's set for London. So unless you live here, ignore the houses. And even if you do live here in the UK, ignore the house placements. We're not looking at that. We're looking at this as kind of a flat chart just to see where everything is. All right. Thanks so much, Asleep by Nine. Much appreciated. So Mars, this guy, the red planet of action, passion, energy, power, excitation. Mars is also irritation. Mars is also inflammation. Anything that kind of gets, like the pebble in your shoe that really pisses you off. That's Mars energy. Mars is the surgeon's scalpel. Mars is the sword that can attack or defend. Mars is the warrior. Mars is the soldier. Mars is also the general. It's not just a meat puppet. Mars is, when you think about the Emperor in Tarot, that's a Martian card. And you think about the Emperor has really earned his place, right? It's not just, somebody that talks the talk or has the title, but has never fought the battles, right? Mars is about it. Mars will show up. Now, Mars in Leo is about confidence. It's about self-sovereignty. It's about, Mars is a planet of self. It's about the personal will acting out there in the world, right? Me, myself is the circle and the arrow pointing outwards. Me, myself going out into the world, going after what I want, going after the things that I desire. And in the sign of Leo, which is a little bit more theatrical, um, this is about the self. This is about your personal sense of authenticity. This is about it's about your confidence, right? So Mars in Leo is a decidedly different energy to Mars in Cancer, right? I'm going to say finally, I finally feel like I just about have more energy back. Any of you that know me know that I'm a Leo ascendant. So having that Mars move through the Cancer energy, it was tough for me, right? My energy levels, no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get, like I just couldn't gain the momentum that I'm used to being able to gain momentum really quickly on things. It's part of my thing. Well, one of my best friends, he calls me he says you're a bulldozer. If you give me a to-do list, I just hammer at it, right, until I'm done. But that Mars through Cancer, I just could not find the momentum that I needed to go. And now that Mars is back in a fire sign, or certainly in the sign of Leo, I feel that energy that much more. I've got more of my mojo back, let's say. So that's really, really nice. Now, um, okay. I'm just reading some of the comments at the moment. You guys crack me up. Um, that Mars energy in Leo is really about leading from the front, right? It's about showing up. It's about being yourself. It's about self-sovereignty, direction, self-governing as well, in a sense, as well, right? Now, the other thing is this Mars, as you can see today, is in a sextile to the South Node. So it's giving us the ability to potentially move past or through something because it's applying to exactitude of that transit, and it's in a trine to the North Node in Aries, right? But it's only at 2 degrees, so it's applying to this. Now, the moon is at 3 degrees, applying to the conjunction to the North Node. So this is actually a really nice day for getting something done, or certainly getting something started, which is one of the things that I used this for this morning, and I'm kind of doing now. The Luna is obviously past she's already past the trine to Mars, but again, Moon in Aries is active energy, and the Moon is in Mars's sign. So it's like, yes, this is an action orientated day. But as we move into Wednesday, Mars hangs on to that 2 degrees. And then by the time we get into Thursday, it moves to 3 degrees, right? Now, on Thursday, at this point, we're coming in towards the full moon, right? Look at this. Moon is going to square Mars, right? So there's potentially some kind of irritation with or around our feelings. Mars being in Leo, right? Moon being in Taurus. Luna is in the stronger position here because Luna's in the sign of her exaltation. So it's a really interesting one for sure. Um, and because that moon is also going to be, it's applying to full, there might be a little bit of tension in the air. There might be something that we need versus what we actually want to do or what we want to get started or get out there in some regard. And yet Mars is being strengthened because it's really, it's in good angles to the nodes, and it's going to continue on that path right the way through to the 7th of December. So as we get to like into next week, all right, so by the time we get to Wednesday of next week, look what happens. Mars hits 4 degrees. It's only going to go 2 degrees more than that between now and the 7th of December, and then it's going to go retrograde. All right, so it's a pretty interesting week, this, because I think more than anything else, I would say this next 2 weeks, in terms of the energy, Mars being in a fire sign, use it, right? Because in 2 weeks' time, Mars is going to slam on the brakes and go retro. So, you just got to use what you can, basically. So I'm going to stop sharing. Um, I mean, yeah, it depends really. If social media gets you really riled up, then yes, maybe a good time to come off of it. I personally can't, because obviously, social media is basically built into my every single day because of work. Um, so I'm not that fortunate, but maybe watching what you say and how you say it, and more importantly, maybe paying more attention to what you allow yourself to read. If you know that there are certain things that trigger you, maybe just maybe at this time you kind of say to yourself, okay, that's enough internet for me today, because I'm not able to do this in a way that is beneficial to me or any good, right? How am I helping anybody if I'm just kind of losing it? Um, just my 2 cents. I mean, for me personally, there are times like when I was younger, in the early days of Radiant Reality, I used to get into it with people in the comments, like if they made, rough comments on my stuff or whatever. Whereas now I'm just like, I've been called so many things. I've had so many people, really go in at me in the comments. So now I'm just like, bloop, delete that crap. I'm not even going to get into it with you. Um, yeah, and Jan, this is the thing, and this is what I'm saying. Like, it's not a bad thing. There are times where we actually have to defend our viewpoint. So I'll give you an example. I had a lady. This was 2023. No, 2022. I had a lady in the comments. I made one of my heavier predictions, and she absolutely went in about, I've been reading tarot for 40 years and I've never predicted death and rah rah. And she just went on and on and on. And at first I was like, okay, well, you're allowed your opinion. And then she said something, I can't remember what it was. It was like the next comment that really did it. And that was it. I let her have it. I was like, listen, you don't need to be here. And personally, I don't want you and your crappy energy here. Right. I mean, I had to really restrain and filter. I had to really process what I was saying to her. But the same way she gave it to me is the same way I gave it back to her. I don't give a crap if you've been reading for 40 years. If you've got through your tarot reading career for 40 years and never once predicted a death, honey, you crap. I'm telling you straight up, you ain't doing the job. You ain't doing the work. What exactly are you telling people? That every single day is going to be sunshine and rainbows? You blow smoke out of people's backsides, and I really don't have time for it. Straight up. So yeah, I kind of at that point I really gave it back to her. Needless to say, she never came back, um, or at least I've never seen her in my comments again. So sometimes you do have to, right? And that's Mars, right? Sometimes you have to give it back. You can't just constantly turn the other cheek or take it, take it, take it. There are times where we're all human, right? We lose our temper, we say what we say, we feel how we feel, we've got to get it out. And quite frankly, holding on to that stuff is not good for you anyway. There's times where you really just have to get it out. Anywho, yeah, and Watkins, I totally understand why. I don't want to be out here talking about that stuff 24/7. And if it was 24/7, I would have to check myself and say, like, Raf, what's going on? But at the same time, it can't just always be only good stuff, right? The tower can't always mean something else other than catastrophe in your life. The death card can't always mean something other. It can't always be, oh, a transformative experience in your life. There are going to be times where it means what it says, right? And if you've been with me long enough, you will have heard me say there are times when tarot gets really freaking literal, right? Whereas the deck's looking at you like, I said what the F I said. And you're like, okay, no need to shout. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I heard you. I'll deliver the message. Oh, yeah, see, that's unfortunate. And I know that's definitely not as you are, Jan. Fair play. And there's something to be said about that as well. When someone calls you something that you're not, or says something about you that really isn't who you are, get annoyed about that and check them as well, right? We're talking about Mars, so we should talk about this. We should have this conversation. Here comes a Rafi rant, right? There are times where you have to check people for the way that they talk to you, the way that they approach you, the way that they think it's okay to treat you. We teach people how we want them to treat us by what we allow. Okay, by what we allow them to do. The same way you have to teach people how to love you is the same way you have to teach people how not to mess with you when the time comes. There are times where you have to check someone, right? So fair play to you. And if you're defending yourself or a loved one, do it. That was always when we were kids, when we were back in my day, then we used to have this saying like, a fight is a fight, is one on one, fist to fist. We didn't believe in any of this. Like, there were a lot of kids around my area that took it way beyond fist to fist, which I never really understood. Like, the way I was brought up is like, if you got your butt worked, you got your butt worked, right? But you live to tell the tale, and it was what it was. You fight one on one, fist to fist, and that was it. None of this group gang. Like, I've seen a lot of that, and I never really understood it. Um, and it's the same way, right? If you kick someone's butt, you kick someone's butt. It is what it is. Anyway, for another day. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help us all on our path to our highest vibrational goods. The first card out, best area of focus. Someone please tell me when to stop shuffling. Uh, Social media can absolutely be overwhelming. It can be a lot. And that's why now I just don't engage with it in that way. You know what I mean? Like, every so often, sometimes a comment or whatever will, get under my skin and I can't help but comment. Um, that's the human in me, right? In all of us. Sometimes you just gotta. All right, thank you very much. So, first card out, best area of focus is the Hermit. So, this week we are being invited to pull it back, right? Not even reassess. Like, the Hermit card is really about finding stillness and exercising your wisdom, right? And truth be told, wisdom or even knowledge is useless unless you actually put it into action. So, do something with it, right? Make something happen, make something move forward by putting your wisdom behind it. Whatever lessons you've learned over a lifetime, that wisdom is only really useful if you apply it to whatever the situation is. For our area to watch out for, we have the High Priestess. This is very interesting. So if you've been with me long enough, I always say when the Hermit shows up, the High Priestess has a message for you. Well, look at who's just shown up. So this week, before we act, we need to take a moment to think, to use our wisdom, but then look at this. With the High Priestess in tow, the message behind this is the area for us to watch out for is information that comes to light very much. This is like a secret revealed, hidden things revealed. What's really interesting about this is that this week we've got a full moon. In 3 days' time, we will have the full moon, which is a time of revelation anyway, because the light of the moon is full. And you add to that the fact that we have uh, oh my gosh, come on, brain. The moon will be conjunct Uranus, right? So whatever's coming up for all of us in some way, shape, or form, there's going to be a piece of information that just maybe blindsides you, right? Some kind of insight that makes you go, wait, what? Like, I was not expecting that. Some piece of information, or, that just really potentially catches you off guard in some way. And yet, we're being invited to practice wisdom, right? And then the third card, the outcome of our diligence, or the outcome of all of this, is the Ten of Swords. What this tells me more than anything else is whatever piece of information comes to light, it is going to be a deal breaker. Uh, Now, when I talked about this in the Moon Day Magic video yesterday, one of the things that I've said about this full moon is it's not an eclipse, but it feels like one. It's not an eclipse, but it's behaving like one. And that's because of the conjunction to Uranus. Uranus is unpredictable. If you say it's going to be here, it'll end up over there. If you say it's going to be there, it'll end up over here. That's the nature of the planet, right? It's very shocking and disruptive, destabilizing in its behavior, and it's a planet of opposites, right? So what's really interesting about this for me is Saturn, like in terms of an opposition in astrology, which is where planets face off with each other like this. Um, that's an opposition. Saturn rules that kind of energy. Uranus rules opposition in terms of the opposite, right? Whatever is done, it's like, so if your current home life is currently a mess and is all over the place and is fighting and shouting and anger and all the rest of it, Uranus will bring the complete opposite. Whatever you have, you get the opposite of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shapes up. But what this tells me, with that Ten of Swords being the final outcome of this energy, Oliver Twisted, hello, brother. Um, there is going to be an ending here. There's going to be something that comes to a complete close, and it will be in relation to or as a result of whatever information comes to light for you this week. Now, it doesn't have to be, oh, you find out that your partner's cheating. It doesn't have to be that. It could be as simple as your doctor comes back to you and says, we've run the tests and you're actually allergic to gluten, or you're allergic to wheat, or you're allergic to dairy. And so suddenly, wait, what? Your whole diet has to change from here on in. Maybe you get test results and it says that you're diabetic. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's a complete disruption to what you have currently. So that piece of information that comes to light this week, it could be that a friend says to you, I'm moving to a different country, and suddenly your best friend in the world is going to be half the world away. It could be, maybe you get a phone call or an email to say, like, are you such and such a person? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, we need to find you because we've been looking for you to tell you that you've got an inheritance that needs to be claimed. Whatever it is, it's going to shift and change your life in a way that is very permanent. So this full moon has some stuff about it for sure. All right. Who was it that says Algol returns? Christina Pitcher. Yeah, you know, right? If you know, you know. All right. So let me put these back in. It's a short and sweet one today. Lots of waffling. I apologize. That's all of the transits in the sky at the moment. So for our fire signs, in fact, somebody please, when you're ready, tell me when to stop. Let me lock myself in the house. I don't think it will be that bad. I don't. I do think it will be highly surprising. I do feel like it's going to bring some moments of like WTF, but what are you gonna do? Um, yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Balance and equilibrium, finding your energy and also finding the energy of alignment, really thinking about how you um, bring a greater sense of balance into your life. Like this week, whatever happens on the external, I want you to really check in with the internal and ask yourself, how does this mirror how I'm feeling inside, right? How does this mirror, how is it that my internal self is resonating to the same frequency outside of me? And the reason I say this is because if you're a fire sign this week, what you might notice is, and this is true, right? This is very true, and it might sound a bit fantastical, but hold on to this thought, right? If everything else around you is loud and over the top and zzz and all of that, if you bring yourself into a focus of centeredness and alignment and balance, I guarantee you everything outside of you will follow suit. But you have to hold to that as strong as you possibly can, right? So, as an example, let's say this week somebody starts like screaming at you and all the rest of it. Ask them a question at a much lower tone. So, if they're, "Rah, rah, rah," are you okay today? What? First of all, you interrupt their thought. And second, the quieter you speak, the more they're going to match your tone. But you have to hold that. This is kind of like the same energy of, like they say, if a dog is barking at you, if you start freaking out even more, the dog gets louder and more aggressive. Whereas if you just stay calm and focused, they will come down as well, right? So if you're a fire sign this week, if it's disruptive outside, it's because your internal world is disruptive and you need to switch the narrative. All right. For the air signs among you, you have the Knight of Pentacles. This week, if you're an air sign, this is really trying to reveal to you, the Martian energy is really trying to reveal to you that it's a marathon, not a sprint. A marathon, not a sprint. If you're an air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, remember, Mars is about to go retrograde. We've only got about 2.5 weeks really left. You know, in fact, yeah, from the end of next week, so like around the 18th, from next week, we've got like one, two, yeah, we've got 2.5 weeks as opposed to the end of next week, where Mars is direct in the fire sign and then it goes retro. So if you're an air sign, literally hold on to this idea, right? If you've got a deck of cards as well, put the Knight of Pentacles out. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. For the water signs among you, you have the Star card. It looks like you guys are going to finally, well, not finally, it looks like you guys are learning to process this. And also, I think for all of the water signs, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, you will understand this week exactly what you need to have in place in order to see this week out sort of good. But also, it's going to help you put something into practice or rather into place whereby you see out this whole Mars transit truthfully in style. I actually think the water signs are going to sail through this Mars retrograde. And I think whatever you learn or whatever piece of information comes to you this week, it helps you build a game plan of some sort. So, that could be good. For the earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, last but never least, you have the Five of Wands. Okay, so if you are an earth sign, um, there's going to be a lot of information flowing backwards and forwards. And what's really important for you this week is that you locate the thread that makes the most sense. There's going to be a lot of people spouting a lot of stuff over this next week, and you are being invited to really find the calm in the storm. And if that happens to be you, then listen to yourself. Put other people's opinions aside. And I will say, when it comes to everybody putting their stuff in or their 2 cents, hold yours back until everybody else has put theirs in, because yours may very well be the quiet voice that is, needs to be the hand on the tiller. So it's that full moon that's going to do it, right? The 14th, Mars moving through the square to the moon, that's where it starts. All right, that's the Mars squaring Luna on the 14th. And then the day of the full moon, I think it's just going to be a very, very interesting week for sure. Um, Personally, I'm kind of looking forward to this full moon because it feels like um, it's a true culmination of a very large cycle. And in truth, it is, right? We talked about this yesterday, whereby this is the last time the moon is going to trine Pluto in Capricorn. So there's something about this whole week that does close things down. I gotta say, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a daredevil, or maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'm actually looking forward to this full moon. I want to see what it's going to bring. That's probably my Aquarius morbid curiosity there. I'm like, ooh, what's this going to be? Um, that's kind of like the adult man child in me that's like, I wonder what that's going to be. Anyway, this is me being silly. So, with that said, I wish you all an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week of it. Look after yourselves and each other. You won't see me now until Thursday. Um, but look after yourselves. Go out there and be who you are destined to be. Have a wonderful full moon. Take care.